Here is a Hampton Bay ceiling fan. This is a very rare model. This is an early Huntington. I think it would be before there was even a number. So just the Huntington. And it's in the very unusual Verde finish. Take a closer look here if I can get this off the tripod. Using the tripod I don't particularly like, because the other one is the downstairs. Anyways, this is the finish. And I've heard about this finish before. Some other collector that I know has always kind of made a big deal about this Verde finish. And I never quite understood it until I saw it in person. It really is pretty neat. See if you can take a look at the informations here. This is made in the 1998, and of course the model number is over there where I cannot see it. Okay, hopefully that's in the view of the camera. I'll have to just pause the video to read it because I can't see it from where I'm standing. So this is pretty interesting fan. The blades are bleached oak, reversible to a medium oak. It came to me with the light oak blades, and to me that looked better up against the Verde finish. The white has I think there's something wrong with it, because if you look at these two shades, there's like a speckle on the outside, and this one appears to have it on the inside. So maybe this one was a replacement, this shade. It's close enough that it still looks decent, but there's definitely something not quite right about it. There's also something not right about the way the light kit is mounted, because this light is in the way of the chain. You know, the chain should be like right there. So it probably just needs to be rotated, you know, one third of a way over, and then it would line up, but I'm not worried about it. The reversing switch. And it does have the infamous brackets with the stinking lips on them. I don't particularly care for those brackets, but it's not too bad. It's a pretty decent looking fan. Now, as is the case with all these Hampton Bay fans, I'm going to have to go into this about the quality of this fan. This is one of the more economy style fans. It's a very, very small motor. You can see it doesn't, I mean, it's tiny. It doesn't go beyond where the blades screw up much at all. So it doesn't move a whole ton of air. It also doesn't aspire to. The Hampton Bay fans are kind of unique in a sense, because they covered almost every area of the market, from the inexpensive $10 or $15 economy model that was running for decades, all the way up to the rare several $100 special order models that existed in the early 2000s and mid 2000s and you know, around there. And so, and they had pretty much everything in between. They had fans priced at $100, $200, $300. They fit almost every single budget. And the quality of the product varied significantly with the price. And so you had the $20 model, which wasn't the greatest quality, and then you had the $400 model, which was on par with some of the other brands that seemed to be more respected. And so this one, I believe, fell somewhere around the $100 range, more or less. Of course, that was in over 2 decades ago. That price is inflated now. And so the point is, this was more of an economy kind of product at the time. Didn't have an exotic price tag, and but it fit a place in the market, because this fan sold in so many different finishes. You could find one of these fans to match almost any room in the house. And for people that don't know about fans, this could very well appear to be a very expensive fan. It's got an exotic finish. It does have the concealed hardware on the irons. It's a pretty nice looking fan. And you know, if you don't need a hurricane in the bedroom or whatever you have this installed, this is totally fine. Now, there exists a collection of people that just trash Hampton Bay fans for absolutely no valid reason. And I know they're going to come on this video and say, this fan's a piece of junk, it's no better. Okay, first off, this is an economy product of the 90s. And economy products of the 90s were, well, they still are, landslides better than economy products of today. Now, this may not move a whole ton more air than an economy fan of today, like for instance the Brookhurst is a very similar model. It may not move a whole lot more air than that one, but what it does do is it still works. It does have a slight hum to the motor at full speed, but the motor still works. And I believe it works just as well as it did day one. The bearings are not noisy, there's no vibrations, there's no other annoying anomalous sounds. It is slightly out of balance. The blades were completely mangled when it came to me, so I had to do a lot of bending of the irons to get it back to somewhat decent alignment. And it's not too far out of whack as it is now. Okay, here we go with the unblurring issue. There we go. And you can see the blades aren't too bad of a line. They're not bad. And the wobble isn't too bad either. It's pretty minimalistic. So this is high speed. It's very quiet. It's a very, very quiet fan. And it's moving plenty of air. I would say this actually is moving a little bit more air than the Brookhurst did. And the plant here is shaking. Now there used to be a Brookhurst in this room. I had purchased one for this room, I don't know, sometime in the mid-2010s. And it ran for about 2.5 years or so, somewhere in that range, and then it quit. Had a capacitor failure. And so even though this is a pretty comparable model, this one wouldn't do that. This one still works after all these years. So to say that, you know, an economy model of today is no better than what it was 20 years ago is just completely ridiculous. Now the other thing that's not helping this is the down rod is very short. I don't know, what is it, 1 inch? And so as a result of that, it's a lot closer to the ceiling than I prefer it to be. Just for comparison purposes, there's the Emperor fan, and you can see how low that one is versus this one, which is pretty high. And so that's not helping it move any air either. So that certainly could be hindering it quite a bit. There is a very slight hum audible when it's running, but it's not anything obnoxious. Alright, let's go down to medium. And I'm not sure what kind of pull chains it would have come with originally. I believe that one, or this, one of these two was on here when I got it, but that certainly is not to say that that's what it shipped with. Now the medium is a pretty big step down from high. And I remember the Brookhurst being like that as well. The low and the medium were kind of similar, and then high was way out there. It's almost completely inaudible on this speed, but it's still pushing the air around. Okay, now we'll go to the low. And this is a very, very slow low for something like this. I almost wonder if I put a little bit too much pitch on the irons. I tried to base it off of the one that I thought was the least bent, but maybe that one wasn't exactly what it should be. What I should do is I should plug this into I should put the meter on there and see how much the power draw is. I'm sure it's still within the range, the acceptable range, because it's running what I think should be about what it should do on high, but the low just seems really slow, which is nice. I like a slow low, but for something like this I would expect it to be faster on low. It's pretty quiet. I can't really hear it at all. No, I'm not really hearing it at all. And of course there are halogen light bulbs in here, none of that LED trash. And in fact, I am still feeling the air movement. It's not much, but it's there. If you was sitting underneath this, you'd feel it on the low. Now I'll turn the light on very briefly because it's not really correct, because now the image is going to be all washed out. I didn't realize this at the time, but now that it's in here, it's a pretty good match to the color of the walls in here, or at least I think it is. This reminds me of the Hampton Bay Vineyard fan, which is one of the older models that I really want to find. Alright, we'll cut this off. And I guess we'll do a spin. I think it's kind of a waste of time, but I know some people are going to want to see it. I'm not going to show it on reverse because it's the same thing. And I never really used the reverse anyways. Oh, that was the other thing I want to mention. The canopy. The canopy is not mounted correctly because I don't have the original bracket. So that's why there's the screw in the bottom of it. Whoops. Okay, unblue. That screw right there. That's what's holding it up, because the bracket's not original. And the other thing I thought was interesting about this canopy is that it has the punch out for the swag kit wire. Even after over 20 years, the bearings are still in good condition. And for a fan in my collection, that's unusual. Okay, looks like it has come to a stop. Show the light on one more time. Really a pretty neat van. I like it a fair bit more in here than I thought I would. Alright, well that will conclude the video of the Hampton Bay Huntington Fian in the Verde finish.